Good afternoon. Welcome to another segment of Thursday Thoughts and Tips for a Real Life Reset with Mr. James Hawkins, registered financial consultant. And today we're going to be talking about something that many families avoid talking about until it's too late. That is getting your house in order, not just physical house, but financial house, our legacy house, and our family house. Because when a sudden shift occurs due to death, tragedy, or illness, your family's either going to inherit a plan or a problem. And today we're going to talk about how to protect the people you love through proper succession planning. Today I'm joined by the legacy lawyer, my friend, my teammate, and I'm going to have her introduce herself, Miss Shirlyon McWhorter. Thank you. Thank you for joining me. Excited to have you here.
Great. I'm glad to be here. Yes. So
Tell us a little about yourself.
I am the legacy lawyer, and very happy to be here with you and to talk about this subject, which is so important and which affects everybody.
Absolutely.
Nobody gets out of here alive. So at some point, your guests, at some point, all of us will have to deal with estate planning or the probate process. And so we're here as the legacy lawyer to encourage people to engage in the process so that they will leave a legacy for their families and not leave a mess.
Now, I like that unique title. Tell us why we chose that title. Legacy lawyer.
Because that's what it's about. It's about legacy. And all of us leaves a legacy, whether we know it or not, or whether we do it intentionally or not, right? And that because that legacy is what are they going to remember you for? My mother left us with, lots of money, houses, and all kinds of things, or she didn't. And so what we want to do is encourage people to think about the legacy that they're going to leave, which involves an inheritance. And for those of us who are Christians, we know that the Bible tells us that a good man and woman, I say, leaves an inheritance for their family. And so that's what legacy is all about.
I agree with it. And I think there's two components when it comes to legacy. It's not only what you leave for them, but it's what you leave in them. Because if you leave them with power and don't empower them with the information to maintain those type of things, it could disappear. Would you agree?
Totally agree.
Okay, so today what we want to talk about is the process when it comes to estate planning and why family must prepare. Why is it so essential for family to prepare in advance for the unexpected?
So estate planning is about passing along those things that you own and that you want to have. All of us have something. And so lots of times I meet people when I'm doing trainings and different things. They say, well, I don't have anything. Or the biggest thing that a lot of people has is their house. And you want to pass that along. And if you decide that you're not going to engage in the process, that means that only your name is on that deed. Only your name is on that bank account. Only your name is on that insurance policy. And if that's the case, your family will have to go to probate. So now here they are grieving you, and now they're going to be grieving that process because it can be, a long process that they have to go through.
So let's talk about wills versus trust. What is a will and what does it do in the event of a loss of a family breadwinner? How does that protect or mitigate the burden?
Okay. So the will is the least that one should do. If you do nothing, at least have a will, because what the will does is it gives the judge, the court, directions of what should happen to your stuff, to the things that you've accumulated over the years. That's all a will does. And so one of the things I tell the audience is, and I'd like for them to remember, is that if you have a will, it is going to go through a judge because the judge is going to give directions as to what should happen. So that process with the judge is called probate. And everybody say they hate probate, which means that if you hate it, you need to do something to make sure that you do not have to go to probate. Because if you do a simple will, it is good because it gives directions, but also you will have to go to court so that the judge can make sure that the directions that you've given, that your family and your friends will follow them.
Well, for those who do have a will, what are some of the things should be in that will? What are some of the things that should be annotated in there? What are some of the things that you recommend?
So I suggest that people, you go through, get you a pencil and a pad and go through your house, go through your accounts, write down everything that you own. And once you write that down, then you determine who do I want to leave those things to? And some of those things you may not need a will. Say your bank account. You go to the bank and you put a beneficiary on the bank account. So you don't need a will for that. One of the things that I do as a lawyer, I'm straight up with my clients, right? This is a second career for me. I served as a county court judge, decided to do this 5 years ago. And the goal is to empower people. And so I give them the nuts and the bolts. And I tell you, look, if all you have is a bank account in a house, we can do this. And maybe you don't need those documents. And so we want to make sure that people are educated, which is what you're doing here today. And I commend you for that.
Thank you. And I just want to elaborate on something you said, because I want the audience to hear this here. She's not in business to make money. She's in business to make a difference, an impact in terms of guiding, directing, and empowering people with information that can prevent them from a lot of heartache when they're not properly planning. And one of the things I talk to people about is the 4 Ps. Prior planning prevents panicking. And this is something this legacy lawyer specializes in. Next question. Why are many families considering a trust? And what is a trust?
Okay. So the trust, you have the will, you have a trust. The trust is a very large document that one will go to a lawyer to do. Some people are trying to do them online, but I like to caution people on that because it's very technical in terms of the trust, in terms of what you do, how you do it. So the trust is a long document where you put in that trust, just like you would your will, those things that you own and that you want to pass on to your family. So some of the things for your audience to think about, you have a bank account. You may or may not put that bank account in a trust, because if you have it at a bank, what you can do is just add a beneficiary and it will go directly to them. But why would you want a trust is what's really important. Trusts right now are very sexy. Everybody wants a trust. People come in until they hear the price, then they may not want it. But everybody wants a trust because that's really popular. And trusts are good for some people. Some people don't need trust. And what you want to do is talk to a lawyer who's going to be upfront and honest with you and tell you what you need based on what you're going to be giving to your family and your friends. And so the trust, one of the good things about a trust is, say you have young children, 5 and 10 years old. Well, you're not going to give them $5,000 or $10,000 up front. So you could say, my 11-year-old, when he gets to be 18, he gets this amount. When he gets to be 25, he gets another amount. So you get to give it over a period of time. A will is one and done. Once the judge says whose it goes to, it's over, it's done. But you get to make preparations. You get to look into the future. And certainly as a young mother or a young father, you want to be able to take care of your kids, and you can do that through a will. There are 2 types of will: a revocable will and an irrevocable will. People come in and say, I want an irrevocable will. I trust. Do you really? Irrevocable mean I cannot change it. And I don't know about you, but the money that I have, I might want to change my mind at some point. So you don't get to do that with that irrevocable trust. With the revocable trust, it is revocable. You can change it. You can put people in it, take them out when you get mad at them, whatever you'd like to do. However, when you pass away, it becomes irrevocable. They can't change it after you pass away. They have to follow your orders.
What are the components of a trust?
Okay, so in that trust, the main thing is for a client in terms of looking at what you do. Go do an inventory, everything that you own, everything that you want to give away to someone. Look at when you want them to have it. Who are they? When do you want them to have it? You may have an older child who's an adult, but he's a spendthrift, right? He spends money like crazy. You get to say when he get the money, right? So you can give it out over time, which is really, really good. So that's, one of the things that is good for. So that trust is going to allow you, to do that. You can make changes to it at any point that you like. We talked about that. You are the trustee as long as you're living. And when you pass away, you will have a subsequent person in that trust that it says who will be the person. Somebody that you trust. Don't just make it the oldest child. Maybe the oldest child is not good with money, so we don't pick the oldest child. Let it be someone that you trust and someone that you can depend on. You can also there are professionals that serve as trustees, different organizations, different places. You can go and hire people, you pay them, and they will serve in that capacity for you. So those are some of the things, you're looking at with this trust.
So when I think about trust, I think about in your passing, you get to control your life from heaven, pretty much, right? So that means you can dictate and put in paper legally what you want done with your money. Talk about these families that has more than one offsprings and how important it is when you own property to minimize, because of death and I say funerals and marriages is when families really fall apart, right?
Mm-hmm.
So talk to me a little about why this is so essential when it comes to family, a larger family, to include those who have offsprings to marry.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the things you need to be very careful of, take in consideration?
I'm glad you raised that question. That's really important. This is about controlling chaos, potential chaos. This is about making sure that your wishes are carried out. This is about you preventing your family from having to go through a probate process. There's stories about people that's been in probate for 5 years, for 6 years, for 10 years. And it's really sad. We're here grieving over our mother, and at the same time, I'm having to go through these fights and arguments with each other. At some point, my mom had all of us come home, and she said to us she wanted to have a meeting, and we're wondering, like, why does she want to have a meeting? Well, she had already done all of her paperwork and everything, and she wanted to share with us what she had done and who was getting what. A lot of parents, even though they do a trust, they will complete a will, but they never talk to their family about it. And so we get to the table when mama's gone and it's like, no, mama told me this. And somebody said, no, mama told me that. No, what we need to do is make sure, you don't have to give them the grueling details if you choose not to of what they're getting, but you let them know, have a general idea that this is what you want and this is what you set up. And she did it together. So no one could say, mama told me this, mama told me that. Because mama told all of us the same thing at the same time. And when I do these trainings that I do, I tell parents, y'all won't tell them because you're wimps. You don't want them to make you feel, you don't want to make them feel bad that you're not giving them certain things. No, if you're not giving it to them and you have a reason for that, that diamond bracelet that you have and you've got it from your mama, you're giving it to your oldest daughter because she's the oldest. Or you're giving it to her because she's the most responsible, because she'll appreciate it more. Say that. Be okay saying that. You're the parent. You get to make the decision. And the idea is for you to keep them. As long as you're the mama, we're getting along. And you leave and, excuse my French, all hell breaks loose, right? And so you're trying to prevent that. That a trust will prevent that, or will help to prevent that. And if you have the conversations with them up front, they're going to respect you for that. And then there's no bickering back and forth and no misunderstanding in terms of what mother said. Okay, so very, very important.
Unfortunately, financial literacy is not passed down to everybody, right? And so a lot of this we have to learn the hard way. We don't learn it at all. So what do you say to those families out there who's very uncomfortable having these conversations, and why you encourage them to do so starting now?
Yeah, this is about love. This is about love. If you love me, you'll share with me. You'll talk to me. You'll teach me, what is financial literacy? What should I know about it, right? And even if our kids aren't getting it as much as they need to in school, let's talk about it at home so that they can be comfortable having the conversation. It should not be taboo, right? Where we're afraid to talk about it. We're not going to say anything. No, we need to talk about it. And if they're not doing it at school, it's our responsibility as parents to make sure that we're doing it at home and share with them so that they're comfortable. And if they see you being comfortable talking about it, it's more likely than not that they will feel comfortable as well. So
how do you go about initiating this conversation? I don't know anything about a trust. I've heard about it. I'm going on other people's experience, not their expertise. So where do you start with this conversation in this family?
Yeah. So for me, one, you can have a great lawyer like Shirlyon McWhorter to be a part of the conversation. Because one of the things that I do is, I enjoy people, which is why I do trainings all the time, and which is why I'm having events, to educate people. And that's part of what I do. People think of estate planning as just documents. It's so much more than that, right? And I'm much more than just giving you paperwork to take home with you. So I meet with families. I do consultations free. I don't charge. I have a mentor, and he told me, he said, when people come to him and they want to, don't want to pay for a consultation, he said, no, they're not free here. And they say, no, but some people, he said, well, if you want a free, you go to McWhorter Law, because that's where they do them free.
Well, and then you are the legacy lawyer, so absolutely. Let me ask you this question: grantors and these different parts of the trust. Can you elaborate on that a little for me?
Right. So the grantor is the person that's giving away something, right? The grantee is the one that's receiving it. And so I am going to, as a mother, I'm going to grant this to you. I'm giving this to my oldest daughter, this to my youngest daughter. And this is why I'm doing that. And goes back to that conversation about sharing, with your kids and why you're doing and what you're doing. And they'll have an appreciation for that. If you're comfortable with it, then they'll be comfortable with it.
What are some things that goes into a trust? Because a lot of times people get trust and all they have is a shell. And when should they start putting certain family important business into that trust?
So that's a very important question. A trust is like a book bag, right? I have a book bag. I go to school every day. If I put nothing, no books, no paper, no pens in the book bag, what do I have but a book bag that can carry things? A trust is the exact same way. The trust is the book bag. So the pencils, the paper, the books, those are your accounts. That's your money. That's your things that you're giving to them. So I've seen people who come to my office and say, I have a trust. And I'm like, oh, is your house in your trust? And they're like, what do you mean? You have to put something in the book bag for it to serve as a quote unquote real trust. So if you go to a lawyer and they leave it up to you, okay, I'm going to give you this stack of papers, and then they leave it up to you to go home and put things in it, which you're not going to do. It took you forever to get there to get the trust. So one, it's going to take you forever to do it. And two, do you know what to do? Do you know how to do it? So if a person has a house, right, and I want this house to be a part of my trust, I'm going to do a deed to take that house out of their name and put it in the name of the trust, the family trust.
Okay, let's explain to this audience, what is a deed? I heard the early bird deed. I heard of the different living estate, life estate. Can you elaborate on these topics here? So people get a better understanding.
Yeah, so we have various kinds of deeds in the state of Florida. The Lady Bird deed is a deed that everybody's talking about now. It's been around forever, but lots of us are just learning about it. The Lady Bird deed is like a quit claim deed. The difference is, and the good thing about a Lady Bird deed is that it allows me to give to you, my son, my house when I die. Any other deed, it transfers immediately. The Lady Bird deed, which they only have in several states, Florida's one of them. And in the state of Florida, you get this Lady Bird deed. And what it says is, I'm giving to James, right, my son, this house upon my death. And it's provisional if I'm still living. And I mean, not if I'm living, but if I still have it when I die. So a lot of people are like, oh no, I don't want him to get my house now. He's not going to get it now. It's only there if it's still there when you're gone. So you can say, you know what, James hasn't been a very good boy. Forget that. I'm selling my house and I'm taking the money. And you go sell it. He has no rights to it or anything. Okay. And what happens is, upon your passing, all James would have to do is take a short form death certificate that does not have the cause of death on it to the property appraiser's office, file it. They take your name off and put his name on. It doesn't get any simpler than that. Now, most lawyers are like, Shirlyon, you're just telling too much. You're giving away the goods, right? But we're here to help. We're here to accept people, to assist them so that they can make good, informed decisions.
Absolutely.
And passing their wealth.
And that's where the education process comes into. But now here's a question. I'm not asking you about life insurance, but can you make the trust the beneficiary over the life insurance policy?
So a life insurance policy can go into a trust, absolutely. So your life insurance policy now has your name on it, James Doe, right? In order for it to go in that book bag, right, you got to put the name of the trust on it. So you go to your agent and you say, look, I want my Shirlyon McWhorter trust, family trust, to be the beneficiary of that account. That's how it goes into the book bag. That's how it gets into the trust. You have to do that. If you don't do that when you pass away, it's going to go to whatever name is on there.
So now this is the details I want to talk about. I'm you're a non-family member, but through marriage you are. What are some concerns when it comes to that? When it comes to inheritance, how does that work?
So if I have my documents in order, everything that I own is going to go to the people that I said it should go to, if my affairs are in order.
Mm-hmm.
It's when I don't have a will. It's when I don't have a trust. Everybody, I always ask people, do you have a will? People raise their hand. No, I don't have one yet. Yes, you do. The state of Florida has a will for each one of us. If you don't do it yourself, the state has one for you. And in that will, the state determines who gets what. And so a lot of times people end up with things that you don't want them to have because of that. And so when we talk about marriage, my son is married to somebody, okay? If I give my son a house and he and his wife have been both contributing to that house, in a divorce or in whatever, she's going to have a share of that if you commingle your things. And as a parent, if you don't mean for the daughter-in-law to inherit what it is you have, then you need to go through this process and make sure that it's done correctly so that she does not get to inherit.
Well, this is why what we do is so critically important, because the one thing that affects every family, every relationship, in every phase of life is financial literacy, stuff we're talking about now with substance, and financial behavior. Now, money influences every phase of our life, to include our level of stress. Now, I've said this and I continue to say it. If it's that important, it seems like it should be something we should be taught. We should know these tools. We should know how to apply these tools. But however, it's not being taught in a lot of homes. It's not being taught in the education system. It's not being taught in our community, and nor is it being taught in our churches. So we are left with trying to figure this thing out on our own. We know the cost of our mistakes and error and the lack of understanding, but when it comes to financial literacy. And what I want to talk about, and is ask you all this question, is that what would happen in the event life shifted in a direction where you were no longer there as the breadwinner? Would your family inherit a plan, or would they inherit a problem? That's the question. I just want you to think about that. So what I want to talk to you about is life insurance. Now, life insurance is love in a financial form. I don't want to get too detailed when it comes to life insurance, but it is a big part of having a peace of mind in the event of an unexpected situation. And a lot of us, we think about life insurance, we think about dying. But I want you to start thinking about life insurance as a tool you can use while you live. There's so many different ways you can leverage this particular product. It's the most misunderstood and most misused financial tool in our society, but it can do so many things. It can solve so many problems when it's done correctly. And what that simply means, if you are a responsible adult with people depending on you, you have two problems. If you leave here too soon, you want to make sure your family is protected. If you live a long time, you want to make sure you can retire. Life insurance, I don't think it's something that should be a standalone retirement plan. I think it should be something that complement retirement. But also, let's think about it. Most people get sick, injured, ill, and it affects their ability to go out and earn money, because one of the greatest financial assets you have is your availability. And if you're not able to leave your home and go make money, then what do you have in place to mitigate, to protect your family? Because see, as an adult, we are protectors and we are providers, but we have to make sure that we have the right tools and things in place so when things are not going the way we like, it doesn't break down around us. See, because I think when we do things right, we have an inconvenience, we don't have a problem. Okay, so I want to give my guests an opportunity to talk about whatever, in terms of tips that you think would be important, things you want to leave with our audience in relation to what we're talking about when it comes to trust and will and having your house in order. And you can even give us some situations where you wish, it was just too late. There's nothing you can do.
Yeah. What I will do, let me start with a good story. I had a young lady who called me recently and she said that her dad had died. And I said, oh my goodness, he was here a month ago. And he had done a Lady Bird deed and he deeded the house, said that it would go to her upon his passing. So she said, what do I do now? I said, oh, all you need to do is take a short form death certificate down there, and it is your house. She said, that's all? I said, yeah, your dad loved you. And as a result, he came to me to do this. She found some paperwork with my name on it, my card, and she called me. So it's important to, one, let your kids know what it is that you're doing, and do this in remembrance of yourself. Do this because you love me. Imagine if you had a boyfriend and he never showed any love. Would you stay with him very long, right? So the idea is, as parents, you love me, show me that love. And one of the things I want to say to your audience that we didn't talk about is I think that I always encourage my clients, if they can and if they will, to do a legacy letter. I'm all about legacy. This is about what you leave your family. A legacy letter. My mom, without me telling her, I talked about that meeting that we had where she told us what she was doing. She had a letter. She did a letter. I call it a legacy letter, where you write to your loved ones and you tell them, hi to my beautiful children. I love you. I know that I'm no longer there with you, but this is what I expect of you. And let me just remind you of all the good times we had. And you talk about things you've had, places you've gone together. And you talk about what your expectations are. And you talk about, I left you this for that. And oh, Susie, I left you this because I know you always wanted that Louis Vuitton purse that I had. I left that for you. And Mary, I know you could care less about purses and things like that. So I left you A, B, C, and D. Imagine how that child is going to feel reading that, right? Because we're going to be sad that you're gone, but this will, lighten the load a little bit. And so you want to do that. And again, share with your family that you did a will, that you did a trust, that you did a ladybird deed. And also a key reminder is nowadays I tell people a year, but generally it's every 2 years. Call your lawyer, see what has changed. Is there anything I need to change in my will? It's never a one and done, right? You got to go back to it. You have a child who passed away. Okay. Now, do you want to take that child off, or do you want to give it to their children? So you need to make those changes, because when you're gone, it can't be made. It's too late. So you want to make changes, update the documents. If you get mad at somebody and want to take them off, then feel free to do that. It's up to you. But you do want to make sure that you're looking at it on a regular basis. You got a new granddaughter. I don't know if you guys remember Kobe Bryant, one of the best basketballs, according to me, players ever. Kobe had a little girl when he died, a baby. And she had the same mother. So it was no problem because she had the same mother. Imagine if that had been an outside child from another mother. They'd probably still be in court arguing that case. All those lawyers, he had top lawyers, but they never thought to go include that kid. So you got a new grandbaby, you got a new child. You need to add them in the will as well. That's when people say, how often should I change it? How often are there changes in your life? Right? There's no set time. What are the changes in your life? Did somebody pass away? Did you get a new baby? Are you going to disinherit somebody? You don't want them to be included? And you get to say that. And to the parents out there who have minor children, the only place that you can say who gets your minor child is in a will. Therefore, when you come to my office and you say, oh, I want a trust, I'm going to give you what they call a pour-over will. A pour-over will is exactly what it says. If I forgot something, like Kobe, pour it over into my will, Judge. Put it in there, right? And so don't worry about the fact that, why we got to do all of this? Everything, there's a purpose for it. We're going to do that will. We're going to do a power of attorney that everybody needs from the age of 18, right? And we're going to do a healthcare directive. And then you need to think about a living will, where you determine, do I want to be on life support or not? And I want to tell your audience, nobody's here to kill you. People all the time, you don't know what they're going to do. Why would they want to kill you? They don't want to kill you. The doctors are there to keep you alive. And if 2 doctors in the state of Florida say that there's nothing more that they can do, then they're going to go to your family like, look, they're going to tell them that. And they give you time to, go grieve. They give you time to say what you want to say. But you should make that decision. Imagine if you have 2 kids, one that's been there for you and one that hasn't. The one that hasn't, they want to hold on to mama. They don't want her to go, right? So there's a fight there.
Absolutely.
So you want to make those decisions. Don't forget the legacy letter. Your kids will appreciate it, and it'll make a world of difference in their lives.
I like the legacy letter, because this is what I take from it. It is writing down special minutes, special moments, and special memories. Something to give that individual to reflect on when that person's no longer there. Well, listen, I want to thank you for this amazing opportunity to sit down and have this conversation with you. And that's exactly what it's been. I've been empowered based on information. I've had an opportunity to work with you. I consider you a teammate as well as a good friend of mine. But I want to say to the audience, you have the pathway. You have the power of the pathway through your path, over your pain or lack of pain. It all depends on the choices you make. So I encourage you all, get ahead of what's ahead, because the fact is, certain things are more likely to happen and not likely to happen in our life, less likely not to happen in our life. But anyway, I just want to say to y'all, thank you all for joining us. And again, thank you for this amazing, amazing show.